We have lost more seats since then, and I've thought for a while, I don't blame one person. That would be incredibly stupid.
But she should go?
I think we need leadership that understands that if something you're doing is not working, change what you're doing.
So she should go?
I think if that or she should change, one or the other. And but thus far, we just lost more seats at the last cycle.
Should she go?
Nancy Pelosi will not lead us back into the majority.
So the answer is yes.
Right.
Strong comments there from Democratic Congressmen Stephen Lynch and Michael Capuano of Massachusetts, both appearing on WGBH-TV in Boston. Welcome back for Hour 3 of America's Forum. Here on this Friday, I'm J.D. Hayworth, and when you stop and think about it, you realize Nancy Pelosi has been in the House for as long as Harry Reid has been in the Senate, and now that Harry is preparing to take his leave, a whole lot of Democrats are wondering why Nancy is not following suit. And that prompts the question, are the Democrats getting over Nancy Pelosi? For more on this story, we are joined via telephone from Washington by Ian Pryor, the National Press Secretary for the NRCC. Ian, we thank you for your time, and for purposes of full disclosure, NRCC, an acronym used by congressional Republicans. So you've got a little partisan stake in this. Let me ask it this way. Is it the best thing for the Republicans for Nancy Pelosi to stay in place?
That's a great question, J.D. I think Nancy Pelosi, her policies are bad for America. She's not helping the Democrat Party retake the majority, but, quite frankly, having her as the minority leader for Democrats has been helpful politically for Republicans. I mean, in 2010, we swept back into power. We took 63 seats. In 2012, Democrats picked up a handful of seats, but they woefully underperformed what they could have done. And then once again in 2014, we picked up 13 more seats, and we have the largest GOP majority since 1928. So as long as Nancy Pelosi is there, we like our chances to continue to increase that majority.
All right, but we heard from my former colleagues across the aisle from Massachusetts. They're ready for new leadership. Heretofore, the real fault line in the Democrat caucus has been Nancy Pelosi on the left, and then Steny Hoyer of Maryland in the middle, as much as a leftist can get into the middle. Is Steny the strongest candidate for Democrat leadership? Does he have things lined up to take over, or will we see someone else who's a little more left-leaning get that gig?
Well, I think what we're hearing from Democrats, I think you can add Seth Moulton to that list yesterday, another Massachusetts Democrat, who on Boston Herald Radio said it's time for House Democrats to adopt some of the leadership reforms that House Republicans have adopted, which is, committee chairmen are selected based on merit, not based on seniority. So I think what you're going to start to see is many of these Democrats, led by some of the few newer Democrats that are in the House, are going to start pushing for leadership that is not necessarily based on seniority, but is based on merit. So whether that is someone like Steny Hoyer or whether that's somebody else, is anybody's guess. But I think there is a consensus out there by lots of Democrats, many of it, or much of it is not public, that Nancy Pelosi is not going to get the job done. And look, there's no doubt she goes out there and raises money, and that's a defense I see often in the media, that Nancy Pelosi can go out and raise money. That's like having a quarterback that can sell jerseys but can't win the games. How much help is that doing for the Democrat Party? And then I think now you see where she's lining up on against Chuck Schumer and several House Democrats backing the president on the Iran deal, and she's whipping votes against a veto-proof majority to provide congressional approval for that deal. So that's going to only further alienate Democrats in her caucus that might want to see congressional approval or congressional oversight over that deal.
Ian, before we let you go, let's switch Democratic females from Nancy Pelosi and her woes to the prospects for Hillary Clinton. We're hearing the announcement could come via social media on Sunday. What might Hillary's candidacy mean to Democrat House races in 2016?
Well, I think that's another great question. Just this week, we launched robocalls in 7 competitive districts, asking why specific members of Congress haven't demanded that Hillary Clinton release her email server to a third party that's neutral. I think you saw in the Quinnipiac poll this week that voters have a trust issue with Hillary Clinton, and that's something that we think is going to blow back on Democrats in competitive seats. You know, the more that Hillary Clinton is out there, the more these issues get exposed. And as you're seeing, her popularity is sinking and her prospects are sinking, and she hasn't even announced yet. So, you know, we certainly look forward to that challenge of defining Democrats and using some, you know, Hillary Clinton's weaknesses.
And we will have to leave it right there. Ian Pryor of the NRCC, we thank you for your time. Back to talk about the NRA convention after this.